Hello, Grace Point Church and friends. Today is Wednesday, November 6th, 2024, the day after Election Day, and I wonder, how are you feeling? I was having a conversation with my daughters over the last few days, as you can imagine, about politics and about presidents, and they were talking about what they don't like about Kamala and what they don't like about Donald Trump, and we were having conversations, and one of them said to me, just three words, but it struck me, "Daddy, I'm scared." I wonder if you've been feeling any fear over the last few months, over the last few days, about what is going to happen um, in our elections. Will our new leader be a good one? We know that we've had many presidents throughout the history of our nation. I think we've had like 46. We're almost up to 50, and likely we will have 50 and 51 and 52 and more. But for now, we're afraid because what's going to happen? In many ways, I was sad to hear that. I totally understand why my daughter would feel afraid because, of course, politics is important because so much of the language around these election seasons leans into fear, right? If the politicians can get us afraid, then they can get us passionate. Fear usually means attention. Fear usually means dollars. Fear often means votes. And so fear is something that people in power don't mind having around because it becomes a tool for those who are in power or for those who want to be in power. And so getting us afraid can get us moving and get us into action. So in some sense, I was kind of frustrated because I'm like, I think the politicians won. I think the milieu, as even my daughters are doing mock, voting in school, and they're talking with their friends. The atmosphere of fear has seeped into her heart. So, Daddy, I'm scared. I just feel like that's such a good description of how so many of us feel. And then she asked me, Daddy, are you? And I want to share with you my pastoral response. How am I feeling? And I think, how can Christians feel today on Wednesday, November 6th, 2024, the day after Election Day? How can we feel regardless of the outcome? I want to encourage you that we don't have to be afraid. When my daughter said, "Daddy, I'm afraid. Are you?" and I said, "No," she asked me why. And I said, the reason that I am not afraid is because I am a Christian and because there is someone else who has my hope and my trust. And what I explained to my daughter, as all of you know, is that if you want to understand where your hope is, if you want to understand what you really trust in, where your faith is, ask yourself, what am I afraid of? And your fears will illuminate where your trust is. And I explained to my daughter that as a Christian, my ultimate trust, my ultimate hope, my ultimate faith is not in the political leader of our country, as important as they are, but it's in the King of the universe, who is Jesus. And in trying to grapple with the emotions of the moment, I want to share with you, and don't worry, I'm not going to preach, but I want to share with you some wisdom about where we can put our trust. And where I want to go is not to the politicians and not even to the classics. I'm standing with many of the classics right behind me. I could have gone to John Stuart Mill's On Liberty. As many of you know, this is a classic. For wisdom for today, I could have went to Robert Dahl's On Democracy, right? That's another classic. For wisdom and to calm us, I could have gone to the Constitution of the United States, right? There are so many books that have been written on this topic that revolve around what we're doing that could help us. I want to go instead to one very short passage from the Holy Bible. And I just want to read it to you. And it's a description of the person who Christians trust. And I want you to notice what Jesus is trying to do in Ephesians 2, verses 14 through 19. I'm just going to read it. And I just want you to hear, rather than power, what is the King Jesus who sits on the throne of the universe, what is he after? Listen to this. And it's such a nice reminder of what it means to put our trust in Jesus more than in any other human being. Ephesians 2:14 says, "For he himself," talking about Jesus, "he himself is our peace, who has made us both one and has broken down in his flesh the dividing wall of hostility, by abolishing the ordinances and the law of commandments, that he might create in himself one new humankind in place of the two, so making peace. And so that he might reconcile us both to God in one body through the cross, thereby killing the hostility. And he came and preached peace to you who are far off, and peace to those who are near. For through him we both have access in one Spirit to the Father. So then you are no longer strangers and aliens, but you are fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God." One of the reasons I am not scared right now is because of that passage. That passage, which says the word peace at least 4 times, is that the peace that we all long for is promised and given to us and provided within Christians by the Spirit of God. It's from Jesus. Jesus is the one who gives us peace. If we look to our politicians, we will feel afraid constantly, whether our favorite person is in office, because then we're afraid that they're going to be out of office soon, or whether the person who we didn't want gets in. There will always be fear if our ultimate trust, hope, and faith is there. But if our ultimate trust, hope, and faith is in Jesus, who came down and died for us, and who provides peace, and through his death and resurrection destroys the separation between people, then we don't have to fear. This Jesus who welcomes us into his household by faith gives us his Spirit. And the Spirit is the one who shows us how to live lives of peace. And so I want to encourage you today to ask yourself, am I afraid? And if you find that fear bubbling up within you, remind yourself of who Jesus is, where he stands, and what he can do for you. Jesus is the only one who can give us the peace that we're looking for.